I want to get to this DeSantis Newsome debate.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch any of it?
No, well, no, just the highlights.
Okay, so I'll be honest, it doesn't even matter whether anybody watched it.
There's a lot of yelling when I try to watch it. So
yeah, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if anybody watched it or not, because it was, first of all, number one, it was absolutely worthless. There was absolutely zero reason for anybody to even to watch any of that debate. It was so stupid, and it made Ron DeSantis look even worse, in my opinion, than he already has. And that seems to be an impossible task at this point.
How did that happen? Right.
And my assessment is not because I didn't watch it live, but I am watching a football game, but I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm seeing people saying Gavin Newsome is absolutely destroying Ron DeSantis. He's owning Ron DeSantis, all that. I don't even care about that. I don't care about the owning and all that stuff. None of that mattered to me. What mattered to me is Ron DeSantis is such a fucking wuss that he's so scared to death of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The guy that he's running against right now, he will not say a false, every once in a while he'll throw a jab, but he will not throw any kind of knockout blow. So he's basically like a fighter. He's like a fighter who wants to wear the championship belt, but he's scared to fight the champion. So one of his, one of his sparring partners said, I'll fight you. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna beat up this sparring partner and make himself look tough.
Right.
Instead of fight the fucking champ, even though the champ's calling him out and calling him names and saying all this stuff, he's like, well, I'm not fighting the champ. I'm going to fight this guy because I can say whatever I want to. And I can pick the venue. I can pick the judges for this fight. I can do whatever I want to. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Sean Hannity and Ron DeSantis did not discuss prior to this debate what they'd be talking about, have all his corny answers prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that pissed me off about that debate is Sean Hannity is supposed to be the moderator of the debate, which any moderator that you see in a debate is supposed to be fair on both sides. Mm-hmm. Basically what they did was they talked about two different states, California and Florida, and every single topic led to Florida's doing awesome here. California sucks. Why is that? And that's basically what it turned into. And even through all of that, Gavin Newsome just stood up there, answered all the questions, was not afraid of Ron DeSantis. Right. And Ron DeSantis was just and yelling at him and thinking he was tough. And it was so embarrassing for that guy.
I can't even imagine, because Newsome is so cool and laid back. He's not going to get excitable.
Right.
He doesn't.
Yep. And he just, like I said, did he own Ron DeSantis? It's hard to tell, only because Sean Hannity and Ron DeSantis were yelling at him.
Sean Hannity's like, oh my God, this dude needs my help. Let me tag in.
That's exactly what it turned into. And I'll tell you another thing that bothered me, and especially living in the state of Florida, there are some things I know that maybe even Gavin Newsom didn't know that I wish that he did, because they were bringing up different things that between Florida, like crime, COVID, immigration, all the talking points that Fox News loves to spew against California and give Ron DeSantis credit for. And that's basically all the whole thing was. But they were talking, one thing was about crime, which, by the way, in the state of Florida, I want to read this article that somebody came out with after Ron DeSantis was going around the state of Florida and saying that crime rate was at a 50-year low. Mm-hmm. And this is also going to lead into the COVID numbers. There's a Florida, one of the top law enforcement officials were repeatedly warned by their own staff that Governor Ron DeSantis' claim that the state's crime rate is at a 50-year low, a message he often uses as part of his presidential campaign, was based on incomplete data that makes the accuracy of the claim impossible to verify. DeSantis continued to promote these numbers on the campaign. And this was a quote from a former Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The ethics of what we were reporting, we knew the numbers were bad. We foot stomped it to the leadership over and over again. They did not care. They did not care. Each of the former Florida law department employees said there was a pervasive sense among agency staff that the numbers were needed to say that their leadership say what their leadership wanted, and that those demands were coming from the governor's office for political reasons. Rank and file staffers raised objections on more than one occasion. And this is another quote. The governor's office wanted to say outright that we were at a 50-year crime low, and we told department leadership verbally and in writing that was not accurate because of the deficiencies in the data. So they put up these numbers on crime between California and Florida using data that was inaccurate and not fair. And they were using this in this debate to help Ron DeSantis's case against Gavin Newsome. And Gavin Newsome, I don't know if he knew this or not, but he still just kind of went through the whole thing, handled it, no problem, and just and in fact, they went to a commercial and they came back and he was like, I could do this. We could do this for a while more. I've got more questions. Sean Hannity told him that, and Gavin Newsom said, I'll stay here with you all night. Let's do it. They went to commercial and they came back and Sean Hannity goes, well, both of them agreed they had other things they needed to do.
Right. DeSantis is like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, it's like, I'm out.
Like
but
with his stupid grin on his damn face.
But they brought up COVID numbers too, and I want to read this as well. Data from the centers, the CDC, and other independent public health experts suggests that Florida's total death toll from the pandemic is actually understated. Experts noted that Governor Ron DeSantis' administration had used a COVID-19 infection rate that gives more weight to negative test results and thus skews the results. So, I mean, if they're saying it in law enforcement, they're saying it in COVID, and they're saying it's both coming from the governor's office, I'm having a hard time believing that that is not true.
Right. And they've been saying that. They've been saying that for the longest time, that he was hiding those numbers.
Yeah.
But didn't they? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so who was that woman? I think she was a whistle.
Rebecca Jones was her name.
Right.
Yeah. She's actually running for office here in Florida somewhere. But Rebecca Jones was the whistleblower that basically came out and said, we are skewing our COVID numbers. This is not right. And she was subsequently fired. She had, was it the FBI or some law enforcement come to her house at one point and raided her house. So yeah. So yeah, it's a good point bringing that up too. Huh?
Did she go to jail?
Yeah, she did.
Right.
Yep. So they did arrest her. So that's why I said that whole thing was bullshit. I didn't even care what the words were in that whole thing. One thing I did like that Gavin Newsom did is that first of all, he defended Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And there was a time where Ron DeSantis, where they like to get Kamala Harris's name wrong. And they do it on purpose, and he straightened him out. And he goes, don't do that. Don't be disrespectful to the vice president. You know what you're doing. That is not fine. That's not fair. Do not do that. Like that. I like that he started defending and just started going over Joe Biden and his record. They started getting mad about that. And even Sean Hayes was like, wait, I thought this was California versus Florida. And Gavin Newsom was like, oh, wait, I thought we're talking to the American people about facts.
I love Newsom so much.
I do too. I'm a big fan.
He's fearless. Like, he's not afraid to go on Fox News. And if he ran for president, he'd be like, I don't care. I'm going wherever. Like, you can't tell me not to go. I'm going to do it. They don't.
Yeah. Well, and again, the whole thing was a farce. It was a joke. And it was every time Gavin Newsom came up with his facts, they were just yelling at him going, nope, that's not true. That's not true. And he was like, well, I can't wait till you guys look at the fact checkers after this, after this whole debate. Because what I'm telling you is true, and you guys can yell at me all you want to.
How is Hannity a moderator, but also working to help DeSantis? Like, what the? I mean, Newsom's not an idiot. His team already knew that, and they probably said, you know what? if we can convince a couple of people or give some facts to a couple of people where they're like, that makes sense, we've done our job. Like, because that's really what it's about to me. Like,
That's exactly what it was about on Newsom's case. And again, the fact that Gavin Newsom went into a debate with Sean Hannity, which he knows he could not trust,
right.
and Ron DeSantis, who he knows probably got all the answers and got all the questions from. In fact, there was a story that he did, in fact, get the answers, or he got the questions ahead of time. But I don't even need that story, to be honest with you. You're sitting here trying to tell me Sean Hannity and the guy who was talking to Donald Trump during his presidency, right. You're right. telling me these guys didn't get together and say, let's destroy this asshole on national TV. And they couldn't do it.
They still couldn't do it.
They could not do it.
Do it with the questions.
There was not one time, and I swear to God, it's not because I was biased towards Gavin Newsom. There was not one time where I watched that debate and went, oh shit, Ron DeSantis got him on that one. Ron DeSantis was just clear in this like idea that I'm being looked at as a big pussy to everybody that's voting for me, that I'm going to show everybody I'm not. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to tear down the villain that we have created in our stupid minds, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and I'm going to yell at him. I'm going to point at him, and I'm going to do all this stuff. And Gavin Newsom just shook him off like a little puppy and said, dude, you're a clown. Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
So if you didn't watch it, I'm glad you didn't, because it wasn't worth watching. It was, I literally was one of the most worthless hour and a half of television I've ever watched in my life. It
had to be, because it wasn't a lot of highlights, right? Like, I thought that there would be so much more to watch. Like, so I got maybe 2 or 3 highlights, maybe. There weren't, but that's probably why, because between the yelling back and forth and the nonsense. Yeah.
And can I just say that maybe debates at this point anymore are worthless. Yeah. I mean,
are they just making them like, it's not making them worthless? Like, I don't know. Ugh. Or is it the Republicans? Are Democratic debates okay? Do we yell? I can't recall.
I know, but I think there was a time where the American public could listen to a Republican, could listen to a Democrat, talk about what they were going to do for the country. True. Now everybody knows where everybody's at this point. Yeah. So, like, I'm not going to watch the Republican debate. I'm not going to watch the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump and go, well, fuck, Donald Trump, he's going to do this for the American people, and Joe Biden, maybe I will consider voting for Donald Trump. And the other side's not going to listen to Joe Biden and go, it's really for these independents who still don't know who they're going to vote for, which who the fuck doesn't know who they're going to vote for at this point?
Agreed. Like, maybe there may be people who don't know if they're going to vote at all. Maybe those are the people that, we need to still talk to. But no, you're right. If you're going to vote, you know who the hell you're voting for at this point. Like, there's no way you're going like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm not there.
Yeah, let me hear what they both have to say, because I still haven't figured out my mind if I want to live under an authoritarian government or the government that we've lived in for the entire American history.
It's not hard. This is not hard.
No.
If you thought Trump was bad before, what the fuck you think he bringing now? He said retribution, everybody. Like, he's not joking.